Hello, hello. Welcome to Front Porch Feelings. I actually am on the porch today because the weather is grand. It is not raining. There is no nonsense or tomfoolery out here. Yeah, so Front Porch Feelings, season 3, episode 8. Right? Right? Thank you. Okay, so today's episode is called Mean Joking When a Joke Isn't Just a Joke. And I feel like this episode is not going to make me a ton of friends. But let me just start by saying this. Let me start by saying this episode, it is not for the people who your love language is like ribbing each other, or you have that general family dynamic and like social environment is picking on each other and teasing each other and doing all that. Okay, like, this is not for you. This is not about you. This is not telling you that what you got going on with you and your people is wrong. So let me say that out loud. Let's get that out of the way. Let's handle that. Let's move it aside. Shall we? We good? Okay. So with that said, really what I'm talking about is social environments in which you do not have that rapport with someone, okay? Strangers, people that you haven't known very long, people that you do not know very well. It may be that you've known someone for a very long time, but you aren't very close with them, or you don't know them at a more intimate level. Like, you've seen them many places. Maybe you go to church with them every Sunday, but you don't really know anything about them. You haven't had many close conversations. Those are kind of the people that I'm talking about. Or heck, honestly, even maybe a brother or sister-in-law that you have had conversations with, but like, that's just not how they respond to things. Those are the folks I'm talking about. This came up. I think this may end up being kind of a short and sweet one, which tends to happen when Mr. Darlin's not with me. You are welcome. But here's what happened. I was actually going to talk about something totally different, and our hosting system was down for a day or two, and as a result, I kind of ran into a different topic. Now, in our family, we're pretty adamant that we do not what we call mean joke. Maybe you call it something else in your family or in your environment, but we say we don't mean joke. We don't pick on each other, and we particularly do not pick on each other publicly. Okay. We are a little bit more of a behind closed doors kind of person. Like, I'll get on to my kids in public, but what you're going to hear from me is ma'am or sir, depending on which which kid I'm talking to. We're going to quit that and we're going to talk about it later. Right? And so they already know that is going down later. But what I'm not going to do, and this is just me personally, like, you parent, you handle your parental justice system how you see fit, but I am not going to like holler and scream at my kids in public. That is not what works for me, right? So we're going to handle that, but they don't think that they are not going to have a conversation when we get home, and it's not going to be a real conversation. But that's just kind of how we've always been. So, and it has worked. That's what works for us. They're pretty good human beings. So I'm going to say, like, thumbs up, right? So we don't mean joke. We're not mean to each other in public, particularly, things like that. That doesn't work for us. Now, with all that said, I do want to say that this came to me because, and I have no connection to this person whatsoever outside of this instance, and I sincerely doubt she would ever listen to this podcast because she's not connected to our page or anything. So I'm still not going to share her name or anything. But we put a piece of furniture on social media, on Facebook Marketplace, to sell. She purchased it when she arrived. We were waiting for another piece to come downstairs, and in the meantime, we were chatting. She was talking about she had X amount of children, and they were all older kids, and then she had this baby, like a baby, a few months old. And I said the same thing I always say, the same thing that I heard my grandma say, Tennessee grandma, since I was a little kid, and that was babies are blessings. Now, I was explaining this to my New Mexico raised husband. I said, this is not real. This is not like a religious thing. This is not a spiritual thing necessarily. This is babies are blessings. Okay. Now, I say that because when somebody talks about a baby, because you honestly don't know where their emotional, physical, mental, financial state is when they have a baby. Some people are overjoyed. Some people are like, oh, holy moly. So this was totally unplanned for. Some people are in a panic state. Some people are like, okay, we barely can feed these kids that we have. Like, we're just at real talk right now, okay? Um, and so you don't know what state people are at. So a big old hearty, like, congratulations may not always be digestible for them, or this is what we're going to get into. Something like what this woman was saying, she was telling me about all the things that people will say to her. Some of these other comments are not appropriate, okay? Like, "Oh, you know what causes that, right? Oh, you didn't have enough sense to stop while the getting was good. Don't you have enough kids already?" Talking about, oh my goodness, you must just really be a glutton for punishment since your oldest one is X amount of age. You got to start all over. What, the other ones weren't good enough for you? You had to try again? Like all this nonsense. And it's like, my answer is always babies are blessings because they are. But it's also, I find something that is palatable for people to hear because they get to sort of take that as their heart can handle. Yeah. Never said that expression before, but that is exactly what I'm I needed to say. Their whatever their heart can handle is their version of that is what I think is really easily digestible for them. So, something that really annoys me is when people are like, "It's just a joke. It's just a joke. You're being so sensitive. I don't get it. I'm just joking around. I'm just kidding. I don't understand why you're so upset about it. It's not that big a deal." When people say these things, it reminds me of like every idiot, and I'm not calling people idiots for saying that it's just a joke, but when it's an ill-placed joke, when it's the wrong time, the wrong situation, the wrong person, like this is not your person. You can't be joking like this to you don't even know them like that. Like y'all are not close like that. They don't know you like that. You don't know them like that. That's not appropriate, and not the baby thing, but just whatever. But like, this is not a topic that's appropriate to be joking about. This is not a workplace joke. This is not like that's a family joke, whatever. But when I hear people that make these jokes inappropriately and things, I think of every stooge from these like teenage movies that, push somebody's tray off a table or trip somebody in the hallway or make fun of somebody's clothes or whatever. It kind of makes me want to punch him in the face. Okay, so that's not true. I'm not much of a face puncher, but it does kind of make me want to like spill water in their lap and make it look like they peed their pants. It's a little bit more my style. But that's the kind of juvenile, silly, cated, immature kind of response. It's just a joke. Just a joke. You're being so sensitive. Well, you know what? For some people, these topics are sensitive. And I jotted myself down a little list of things that I have heard people make unnecessary comments about. Unsolicited comments. Those are the worst kind. It's like, well, if you want to hear my opinion, no, no, Joe, I didn't ask for your opinion. Matter of fact, you were standing over there by the water cooler and wasn't nobody even talking to you, Joe. Why are you over here now talking to us? Like, you were not even involved in that. I was just joking. I was just joking. You ladies are so sensitive. Joe, I'm gonna pour water on your britches and make it look like you peed your pants. I would be sent to HR if I worked in a regular office. I realize that now. But I think I jotted myself a very short list, and I could probably have made pages of it, but and obviously many of these are lean towards, things women experience, but I'm sure that collectively y'all could think of other things. I would love it if you would comment about it, send me messages, email me, whatever. If you can think of things, and I'll add them to my list. But the woman with the children that was talking about having a baby after having older kids, I hear that one all the time. I also hear it with people that have multiple kids of one gender. If you've got like 4 girls, and be like, y'all gonna keep trying till you have a boy? Well, y'all should keep on going till you get a boy. It's like, guys, relax. It doesn't have to be about all that. People that don't have any kids, comments and jokes that are made about not having kids yet, comments and jokes that are made about having too many, jokes that are made about women that eat their whole plate. Like, oh, did you get enough there? Did you get enough to eat there? Well, sir, this is what was served to me on my plate. Oh, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Well, did you want me to waste my food? I ordered this because it's delicious and I planned on eating it. Why don't you mind your own beeswax? Oh, I was just joking around. I'm just joking around. Was it good? Was it like, y'all? I can't even. It was like, oh, that wasn't mean joking. He was just finding something to talk about. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And you know what? My husband, to tell you, my husband has had this effect on me where he has taught me that I don't have to tolerate this. And as a result, I have stopped tolerating this. And so if I'm in an environment where somebody gives me a hard time, which is almost never, I will respond. And it makes people very uncomfortable. And so it almost never happens to me anymore. But during the time of D-Day and the most challenging times of my life, people would just say whatever they wanted. And they would just be joking. It was just joking, just trying to make it a lighthearted situation. Well, you're being mean, Susan. Susan is the person in my family that we blame things on. She's not a real person. We're always like, ah, holy heck, Susan. So if you're eating too much, if you're a mom and you're wearing your PJs out in public, or if you're wearing your workout clothes, oh, you're wearing your athleisure wear. Oh, are you going to work out? Oh, you're not going to work out, but you're wearing your workout clothes. That's so cute. Look at you. Just joking. I'm just joking. But I think about these things and people think they don't matter. But I want to call one specific thing into reference because all these are very flippant things that probably most folks are. I'm going to say the word guilty, and I don't really mean it in a heavy way, but most people have had made comments about, right? But when my daughter was younger, she was on this little cheerleading team in Vicenza, Italy. And there was one young lady on the team, very soft spoken, very precious girl, who I'm still friends with her mom on social media. I think I'm actually friends with her on social media. That hurts my feelings that these kids are all old enough to like have social media and stuff. Uh, this girl's old enough that she has graduated college. I think she has a master's degree. She is in the medical field. She's like an entire. I'm like, I follow her on social media. She is an entire adult. But this young lady, she was very thin. And comments would be made all the time about, like, oh, you need to eat a cheeseburger. Why don't you eat something? Blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? There was a reason she was very thin. And I won't get into all of that. It was not a self-inflicted reason. It was how she was genetically built. And it bothered her, and it would bother me as well. Actually, I have a friend right now. Oh, I deeply hope she doesn't mind me saying this. No, she's very vocal about it on social media. I don't think she would mind me saying it, but um no, I feel confident she wouldn't. I'm not going to say her name or anything, but she is going through a stage of life and has lost a lot of weight and has dealt with people being like, "Oh, you should feel so glad that you've lost all this weight, blah blah blah." And she's like, "No, I'm miserable because it's not a good way to do it." And so it's like all these people just putting their opinions in there, and it's like, "Oh, I hope you're happy. It's the blah 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 diet. Ha ha ha. Just joking. I'm just joking." And it's, like this stuff eats at people and it bothers them, and your words matter. All right, I'm gonna move on from that. I mean, and y'all, that's my short list. That's my short list of things that, people just joke about. Those of you that are not watching on the platforms that I do the video for, I just need you to know I've done my air quotes like 52 times. I'm sorry. Okay, so moving on from that. I knew a person who used to talk all the time about micro expressions. And to be honest, she did it in a gross way. She would be like, "Oh, I watch everybody's micro expressions because then I can use it against them and I can, plot how to respond to them and I can watch for how they act." It was kind of icky. But I too sort of watch micro expressions. And I won't get into a whole like psychology lesson or anything about that, but micro expressions are exactly what they are. They are what they say they are. They're the teeniest, tiniest influences on your face. So they're the tiniest purses of lips. They're the tiniest creases around your eyes. They are the moment that your teeth touch in the back of your mouth. The like the shift in your jaw. They're these tiny little pieces of our body language. I should have like written out a really beautiful description, but I'm just doing this off the cuff because this is what I think of that communicate, right? And a lot of times they use these things in like law enforcement and, mental health experts use it, things that are just communicative tools. And I sort of use micro expressions as well. And I've learned a lot about them for my books and things like that and writing skills. And it kind of helps my characters communicate on the page, but I use it mostly to evaluate how my behavior makes other people feel. And I shouldn't do this. I know I shouldn't, but I also watch how other people respond to other people's behavior. So if we're at an event, sorry about that, my hillbilly scraping in because I'm getting all worked out. I'm trying to be, yeah. But if we're at an event and, people make social circles, girl circles, where you kind of like form a little circle and everybody's having a nice visit. If I see or hear you respond to somebody that it looks like you are uncomfortable, it looks like you get angry, it looks like somebody upsets you, I will step in. It's not my best quality, but it's not my worst one. I will not I won't cause a scene. I will tell you this. I've said this before in other podcasts, other live videos and stuff. I don't know where I got this quality, to be honest, because I do feel like it's a little bit unique to my people. But I feel like you can plop me anywhere and I will fit in. If you put me with fancy people, I will stand up straight. I will speak respectfully. I will try my best to, mimic good behavior. I will, I never use bad language. I don't act crazy or, cause scenes and all that. If you put me with a more relaxed crowd, I can relax, I can chill out, I can have a nice time, and pretty much all the in betweens. And if you ask me to put down what is my best quality in the whole wide world, I would say that would be up there. So all that to say that if I see someone that seems that they are in a little bit of distress, I will step in and I'll do it hopefully in a classy manner, but I have learned to watch people's faces and watch their body language. And if you feel uncomfortable with a conversation, I'll kind of slide in there and I'll change the subject. I will reiterate what someone said. I have learned how to make somebody feel kind of silly for saying something they shouldn't say. That's a special skill I have. So it kind of helps people hear what they're saying. So hopefully they don't continue to behave that way, especially if it's totally out of line. Or I'll help them rephrase it because they probably didn't mean it the way that they said it. I'll help clear up confusion. I will diffuse conversations. I actually was in a situation where I was totally accosted by somebody because a third party had done something wrong and they really weren't going to be able to handle the fire of the person coming at them. And so I sort of like literally stepped in front and went, "Okay, you know what? I'll take this one." You know, point your flames over here because I feel like at the end of the day I'll be able to carry it. Um so I watch those behaviors. I watch those micro expressions. I This is not like a yay me thing. Sorry, I was not in any way trying to make it into that. But if you watch the behaviors of others, that's my entire point here, is that you can become an advocate for them, but also more importantly, you can start to recognize how your behavior affects other people. Um, when the terrible things happened, one of the things I talked about very actively was about becoming an advocate for yourself because the bad thing was the worst thing ever, but a lot of the bad things came after in the result of how I was treated by the people that I thought cared about me. And some of that became just helping people understand how to respond, helping people understand what was okay to say, what was okay to do. And I feel like 5 years later, I'm still sometimes helping people know what's okay because they just don't know. And you don't understand what is acceptable and what feels good on the other side until you've been in that situation. So I can tell you right now that the mean joking, the it's just a joke, to kind of wrap this up. I was thinking about I was sitting in the car talking to Mr. Darlin about this, and he really just lets everything roll. For me, I remember a couple of times, I always tell him that he was my patch job. When people would really hurt me, he would come back in and he would squeeze some caulk in there and he'd put some duct tape over it and he'd pat it all down and he'd take me by the shoulders and he'd go like, "Okay, you're good now. Like start healing from the inside again. We got this. We're good. Let's keep going." And then that internal healing would start to happen and then we could remove the duct tape and it would be good again, right? But some of the folks that would say things and do things and some of the injuries that just kept happening, it's you don't think about it, but what happens is there's this little hairline crack, right? And some of this mean joking or sometimes just meanness, it's like a flathead screwdriver and it gets inserted into that little crack. And sometimes one little mean joke is just the insertion of it. And then somebody else comes and mean jokes and they just kind of lean on it a little bit. They just lean over onto it and it widens that little crack. Some people come in and they're big and obnoxious and they're like, "What's your problem? You're being so sensitive. You're just a silly little whatever it is." And they just wrench that crack open. And when you wrench that crack open, whether you were the first person to put that screwdriver in there or not, whether you put it in there, you leaned on it, or you wrenched it open, what you do is you open this chasm that allows all this other stuff to come into this wound. And some of y'all are sitting out there and you're rolling your eyes and you're like, "I don't know, Miss Darling. You're kind of making a mountain out of a molehill." But I'm telling you right now that you have enough people push on a bruise And that bruise becomes a real and true injury that soaks down to the bone. And it becomes this thing that never heals. And these injuries that never heal, they become a part of who we are as a human being. And then that becomes a part of our DNA. And you know what happens then? Then we start passing that junk down to our kids. And then we become a poisoned society. We become a poisoned family, and we become bitter and angry. And then our kids are angry and our grandkids are angry. And, no, that's not a guarantee if people are mean to us. But I can tell you this, growing up, my family did a lot of mean joking, and I was picked on by my own family my entire life. I hated it. I hated it with everything that I had. And I grew up thinking, like, I'm not going to do this to my kids. I'm not going to pick on them. But, like, I was this beauty pageant winner. I made excellent grades. I'm like not going to go into a bunch of superlatives, but I had a bunch of them. And I still was in my 30s before I had any self confidence. I'm not going to blame it all on my family and stuff, but I did feel picked on my whole stinking life. And I carried that into adulthood. And we don't mean joke in my family, and so I'm just saying, like, don't pick on people, don't give them a hard time about stuff because you don't get it, you don't understand what people are going through, and you don't know if you're one silly little mean joke, you're one silly little, "I'm just kidding, I don't get it," like, it's just like a joke about a baby, it's just a joke about your weight, it's just a joke about what food you did or didn't leave on your plate, it's just a joke about who you did or did not end up with or the job you did or did not get. It shouldn't influence your whole life, but you don't know what people lay down and think about at night. And you would be shocked at the impact of your words. You would be shocked at the way that you may not think about people 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 months, 10 years from now, but how sometimes your minute impact on them in your mind carries with them through their whole lives. So all I'm saying is, like, maybe mean joking is really reserved for you and your most special people if that's your thing, and maybe you reserve that for the people that you kind of have that general agreement with. And if you're not 100% sure, maybe those people that you pick at and you pick on and you think that you're good, maybe the next time you do it, you listen and see if it's a real laugh or if it's more of like a, okay, here we go again. And if it's not, maybe you're not bonding the way you think you are. Maybe try something new because you have an opportunity to build incredible, wonderful, beautiful relationships with people. And maybe you're not quite hitting that point. That's all I'm saying. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Is that mean joking isn't always just a joke. I'm going to give myself one of these because I'm sorry. I know not everybody's going to be on board with that, but I'm going to die on this hill. I'm going to stick with it, breaking generational curses over here as far as that goes. I hope that you have an amazing day. I hope that you're taking care of yourself because it is important. I hope you're standing up for yourself. I hope you are communicating. It is one of the most important things you can do for your mental health, your good relationships is just communicate. Tell people what's working and what isn't. And then on top of that, I truly and deeply hope that you are taking care of each other. So until next time, this is me, Miss Darlin, here on Front Porch Feelings. I'll see you next time.